10 years ago, I was anxious every single time I swiped my card. I had a heap of student loan debt and no idea what was actually in my bank account. 10 years later, I'm spending with more confidence and contentment without any of that anxiety or second guessing. So, what changed? Well, in this video, I'm going to walk you through 7 realizations that helped me get my act together and helped me actually enjoy the way I spend my money. I'm Ben with the YNAB team, and this is a quarter that wants to fall off of my hand. And this is sketchy advice. Money advice that actually, flipping, works. I didn't think I was going to catch that one. Don't ask how many takes that was. Realization number 1. I was managing pretend money better than I was managing real money. I love board games. When I lived in Boston, my roommates and I would play Catan like 6 times a week, and we literally had a leaderboard to keep track of who won the most. That's the kind of gauntlet that makes you real good at trading sheep. And it was probably around game like 85 that I realized, oh, I put more thought into how I manage my sheep cards than how I manage the money that allows me to keep living here. And I think there's 2 reasons for that. 1, the stakes are a lot lower. If you goof up in Catan, you gotta live with that for like an hour or like a week if Alex is gonna be really annoying about it. Whereas goofs with your money can last like your whole life, depending on how big the goof is, depending on the goof magnitude. But I think it's also a clarity thing. Board games give you an objective and a bunch of mechanisms for achieving it. I know I don't want to just spend my brick cards because I'm trying to get longest road and Dane's gonna put the robber on my brick hex again. Dane. But life doesn't give you a handful of scoring conditions except like, don't die. And there are so many things you can do with money that it feels easy to just get overwhelmed and put it on autopilot. I mean, the point where I really decided like I need to get serious about money was when I realized I wanted to marry Maddie, because suddenly a new objective had entered my life. I wanted to be a good life partner for her, and I knew that flying by the seat of my pants with my finances wasn't gonna cut it. This is probably cold. Warm. Lukewarm. And starting to take a serious look at my money led me to my second realization. Doing nothing is still doing something. I'm a naturally avoidant person. You know how some people cross the street when they see a scary looking person? I do that when I see a vague acquaintance from high school. That's gonna be a weird conversation. Let's just save ourselves the pain. So naturally, when it came to money, I just didn't look at my bank account. I just kind of hoped for the best. When I started looking at the way I was spending, I realized I was making all kinds of choices that I never would have made if I'd paid even a little bit of attention to what was going on. Reading through my bank statement was like the opposite of identity theft. It's like, who's wreaking havoc with all my money? Well, knock, knock, it's me. It's embarrassing. I always kind of acted like I didn't really have a method for managing my money, but the reality is this was my method, just kind of white knuckling it and living on a prayer. And what's weird is the more I looked at how I was spending my money, the more I realized I wasn't just spending money. Prior to meeting Maddie, I was just living off of student loans. And that's a great way to feel completely disconnected from your money. It was just this kind of magical resource. But once I started getting up at 6:30 a.m. to drive 20 minutes to try to get hormonal, sleepy teenagers to care about the Roman Empire, I realized that money isn't magic. It's me. I was trading my time, my energy, and my attention to get money. I was trading a piece of my life to get cash. And at this point, I was spending my life just however. Not only that, but I was also spending opportunity. And that actually hit me the hardest the first time I did something kind of cool with my money. See, Maddie and I did long distance for a while. I was in Seattle and she was in Kansas. So one night we were talking over Skype, because it was the old days. And she was just feeling really down and lonely, and we were just missing each other. And she said something like, I wish I could just fly out to you tomorrow. And the thought just occurred to me like, maybe we can. I was a lot further along in my journey at this point. I had money set aside for travel, so I booked her a flight, and she was there the next evening. And after hanging up, I realized I never could have done that. I never would have even thought to have done that in my old system of just hoping for the best. Being intentional with my money and having a plan meant I could make that decision with total confidence, and I have never once regretted it. At the beginning of my journey, I would have said, unless you're super rich or just super risky, you just can't do things like that. But this next realization totally changed my mindset. Big numbers suck. Specific numbers rule. Like a lot of people, my idea of doing well with money was just big numbers. Big number in checking, even bigger number in savings. And big numbers are great. I love having big numbers, but they can't actually tell you what your money needs to do. Like if I had looked at my checking account and said, can I fly Maddie to Seattle tomorrow? All that number would say is, I'm this much. It can't tell me, hey, we actually need to buy groceries still this week, and also your big insurance payment is coming up, and we should probably get new tires for the car because the only thing balder than those tires is gate 3. Yeah, I might have enough money in my checking account to cover the thing I want to buy, but what else does that money need to do? I don't know. And you know what that leads to? Second guessing, second guessing, second guessing. It's just anxiety all over again. For me and a lot of people, we think the only way to get out of that trap of second guessing is to get a number so big that we couldn't possibly outspend our own ignorance. But you know what works better? Giving every dollar a specific job. I started taking my big or not so big numbers and assigning each dollar one by one. How much do I need to spend on rent? How much do I want to spend on groceries? I first learned this from YNAB, the team I'm a part of now, and I put it into practice with the YNAB app, which allowed me to give my dollars jobs, see all my money in one place, and make better spending decisions. And if you'd like to give the YNAB app a try, you can get 1 month free at ynab.com/sketchy. Here's why this made such a difference. Before, when I'd go to Fred Meyer to buy more chunky Campbell's soup, because I was basically feral, I might throw all kinds of other stuff in my cart that I didn't really need, but I figure, I've probably got enough money for it. Or I'd see something I'd really like, but maybe I was nervous about my money, so I wouldn't buy it because, I don't know, I probably can't afford it. Because big number can't tell me what to do there. But once I gave every dollar a job, I could pull out the YNAB app, look at my groceries category, and say, okay, I decided I wanted to spend this much on groceries this week. How does this fit into there? Not only did it help me not wildly overspend, but it also gave me permission to spend more than I would have normally. Because I knew beyond the shadow of a doubt that I could spend this much money on groceries without compromising any of my other bills or priorities. By breaking down those big, dumb numbers into specific jobs, I got board game clarity. And that clarity gave me confidence. And that confidence got rid of my second guessing. And things got real crazy when I realized the future is real. And it's expensive. I dropped my marker under the desk and I hit my head on the bottom of the desk. And we're just gonna hope I'm not concussed for this video. Am I following the marker? When you live 1,800 miles from your wife-to-be, you know you're gonna travel a lot. And when you drive your grandpa's Chevy Cavalier that's only a few years younger than you know that thing's gonna break. So what do I do about that stuff? Just make a big fat emergency fund? Another big number? No. Instead, I looked at all the things I knew I'd need to spend money on eventually, like plane tickets or tires or whatever, and I broke those big numbers into small numbers and started saving for them now, every month. Sure, watching an emergency fund number get bigger, that probably would have made me feel better, but you know what feels even better than that? Is being able to look at all of the things you're saving for and know exactly where you stand with each of them. Because then I can look at YNAB and go, oh, that's how much I can afford for travel, and this is how much I can afford for car repairs. That's good clarity, baby. That kind of clarity with my savings is what gave me the confidence to book that last minute flight. And speaking of that, realization number 6, a plan is not a prison. One of the reasons I hesitated for so long to make a plan with my money is that I knew I'd screw it up. I knew I'd put too much toward this or too little toward that, and I'd be wrong. And I don't like being wrong. I don't like it. But then YNAB made me realize something. I can change my mind. That confident, romantic last-minute flight, yeah, when I looked at my plan, I didn't have enough money to cover travel for Maddie to come out that weekend and for me to fly out for my next scheduled visit. But I knew it was important. I knew that booking that flight would mean the world. So I looked at my plan and I asked myself, what here doesn't matter as much to me as getting Maddie to Seattle tomorrow? And I moved money from those things and booked that flight. And you can do that. You can just change your mind. When you get new information, you can just change your mind. And you know what else? I didn't lose any clarity or confidence because of that. Because now I know this thing has less money in it because this thing over here mattered to me more. Great. I didn't have to cry or feel guilty or go eat rice and beans for 2 weeks. I just made the decision because I got new information and this is what I cared about. Cheat code, baby! And all of this, taken together, led me to my final realization. Money can be fun. I feel like usually when we hear about money being fun, it's from like alpha male hustle bros telling us how to play the game. And that's not what I mean. Do I look like an alpha male hustle bro? Don't answer that. I mean, taking these dollars that I spent my life to get and turning them into spontaneous weekend getaways or banger Christmas gifts for my kids or regular date nights with Maddie is fun. The more these realizations have sunk in, the less I have seen money as this stressful chore, and the more I've seen it as a tool for writing the kind of story that Maddie and I want to live. And here at YNAB, we call that spendfulness. You can learn all about it in that video. Bye.